Welcome back to Precise Pilates Online. We're in week 8 of this second term. We're going to start with some neck mobility in today's class in standing. So bring your feet to hip width, soften the knees, and start to think about promoting the sternum to float as the shoulders release down your back. Your arms can be by your sides and you can take a nice soft breath in. And on your exhale, now think about turning on your T-zone, connecting to that band of muscles across the hip bones. Now for our neck work, you want to be aware of any closing angle joint pain. So if you move into a range within the neck that's very uncomfortable, promotes a high amount of tension, or has any pain, I want you to slowly move out of the range and take a break. For your neck work, your shoulder girdle needs to be gliding down to promote lengthening through the neck itself. And so to do this, you can have your arms by your side and create some fists. And I want you to almost generate a lot of tension, which is coming from the T-zone supporting the spine. So you lengthen the arms by your side, externally rotate your arm at the armpit joint. And you should feel like the shoulder girdle is switched on, drawing the shoulder blades down. From this point, keep the knees soft, take a breath in, and then begin to drop the chin towards the chest and look down. Think about lengthening your arms away from your shoulder blades. Good. Then gently float the the chin upright, so it's floating on the sternum, and then begin to look on up. Follow with the eye line, compress the tongue to the roof of your mouth as you gently lift the head. Now this is where you want to be aware of any angle pain. Come out of it if you need. Inhale, come back to the center. Good, do 2 more of those. Exhale, drop chin to chest. Now we're not flexing through the spine, we're keeping ourselves upright, we're just allowing the neck to move. Good, inhale, float, and then exhale, begin to look on up, looking up with the eye line, pressing the tongue to the roof of the mouth as we lift the chin. Good, inhale to center, let's do 1 more. Exhale, chin to chest. Good, lengthen the arms away, think about that external rotation from the armpit joint. Good, inhale, float, and exhale, begin to look on up, slowly lifting the chin, eye line following. Good, inhale to center. Now we're going to turn the head towards the left. Good, keep irradiating that tension through the arms, drawing the shoulder blades down, and then inhaling slowly to center. Take it the other way, looking towards the right. We're moving really slowly through this range. Inhaling to center, 2 more. Exhale to the left, keeping the T-zone, supporting the upright spine. Inhale to center, exhale to the right. Good, inhale, center, 1 more each way. To the left. Feeling for that residual tightness that's restricting any movement that you'll need to stretch towards the end of our class. 1 more. Good, return to center. Allow the shoulders and the arms to relax. Feel that the shoulder girdle actually just pops back up to its normal posture, and you float the sternum once more. Good, keeping the knees soft, we're going to drop the chin to the chest once more. This time, we're allowing the neck to move softly, passively through that range. And then we're going to roll our ear along our round collar neck, so we come into the side stretch of sternocleidomastoid. Then we begin to roll back along the collar to the center, and take it to the other way, rolling the ear on the shoulder, or that round collar neck. And then rolling to center, gentle in and out breath, 1 more each way. Good, rolling to center, last one. Beautiful, come back to center. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, use the T-zone to lift the head upright. Good. From this point, we'll do our arm prep. Arms are by our sides. Think about that soft knee position, please. On your exhale with the T-zone on, we're going to float the arms on up. Now, it's at this point, I want you to think about that external draw down of the shoulder blades that you had when we did our primary neck stretches. The ribs are drawing down, so we're not arching and leaning back. We want to think about supporting the arm, shoulder mobility with the torso. And then inhale, the arms come back down. So as you exhale to float the arms on up, the shoulder blades drawing down, the ribs are drawing towards the hip bones at the front of the body. We're keeping the torso rigid. Inhale to center. Well, not rigid, but we're keeping the T-zone on and we're not moving the torso. Exhale. It's the shoulder blades gliding down and the ribs drawing to hips that lift the arms. And inhale down. Good, let's do 3. Exhale, arm prep. Let the neck float and be free. And then inhale down. Good, 2 more. And inhale down, just moving within the limits of your range of your shoulder mobility. Exhale, arm prep. Good, and inhale down. Beautiful. Let's move into some rolling. If you're non-rolling, you can come to your hugger tree stretch, or you might like to do your spine twist for a bit of a change. Now, in my rolling portion, you're going to move through the cervical spine first. Now, you practice that chin to chest motion. I want you to begin setting up. Float the sternum, drop the shoulders. Think about the T-zone switching on. Have soft or bent knees for your first few roll downs. Arms are relaxed by your side. Take your breath in. Then begin to drop the chin to the chest. Look down so you lengthen your neck. Let the head almost promote the spine to follow as we exhale. We're allowing the shoulders to roll over the chest line. We're sinking the head towards the belt line, and we feel the belt tighten as we drop down through the roll down. Now we're letting the spine dictate the movement forwards and down, but if it's pulling on your hamstrings, bend your knees. Or limit that roll down. That is a limit. Remember, closing angle joint pain, we might restrict. At the bottom, take a breath in at here. And then push through the heels. Now, as you exhale, start to scoop the belly and start to stack the vertebrae. The chest is going to be last to lift, and that's going to promote the lengthening of the neck where you float your chin upright into that nice neutral position, and you drop the shoulders for your deep breath in. Good, again, drop the chin to the chest. Allow the rounding of the neck to dictate the shoulders to roll forwards, exhaling, dropping the ribs towards the hips, as we allow the head to move forwards and down over that front line of the body. Now as we exhale, we're just going to let the spine slowly follow the crown of the head down. Take a breath in at the bottom. On the exhale, push through the feet, switch on the legs, exhale, scoop the belly and roll on upright, stacking the vertebrae, letting the shoulders and the neck be the last thing to lift as it floats back to that lovely neutral posture. Inhale, relax the shoulders. Good, chin drops to chest. Sink the shoulders forwards. Let the rounding of the neck dictate the rolling of the spine. Good, just let yourself lean forwards, rolling down through that deep exhale of the ribs to hips, almost as if you're a weeping willow. Take a deep breath in at the bottom. And then on the exhale, slowly stack the vertebrae, switching on those leg muscles, and using the T-zone to lift the spine upright. Remember that the shoulders and then the neck will be the last to lift. Let's do one more. Take a deep breath in at the top. Chin drops to chest. Exhale, sink forwards and down. Now at the bottom of this roll down, hold for a nice deep breath in. Give your arms a little bit of a loose shape. Let them just drift. Give your head a nod for yes. And if you were to say no, just let the back of the neck release. Now on your next exhale, we're going to soften the knees, bring the hands towards the mat, walk the hands out into our 4-point kneeling box, softening the knees onto the mat. Keep your toes tucked if you'd like a nice foot stretch. Realign your hands underneath your shoulders, draw the shoulder blades down. You can have a gentle rock forwards and back. Be cautious of any over flexion through the knee that might promote any pain. You might want to restrict your movement. Again, that's another closing angle joint pain there. Just rocking forwards and back with toes tucked under might give you a nice fascial foot stretch. When you've had enough, untuck the toes so the front of the foot's on the ground. You can widen your knees, take a deep breath in, and softly draw the buttocks back towards the heels, reaching the hands forwards and dropping the head to relax the weight of the neck onto the mat, and have a nice little prayer stretch. Good. Now we're going to go into our press up level 1 or level 2 to begin with. Bring your hands back to shoulder level. If you're happy with them here and you'd like to work with your level 1 box, take them out as wide as your mat. Hyperextenders, turn the elbows to the outside edges of your mat, please. Start to softly draw the shoulder blades down as you inhale and lift your pelvic floor. Exhale, lift the belly off the mat. Think about lifting those abdominals inside the pelvis, and then think about flattening to draw the hip bones together. Good. We're going to inhale the nose down between the hands for level 1. Exhale, push off, extend the arms. Now the abdominals are lifting on that exhale to push you back on up. Inhale down, and exhale, push on up. Think about lengthening the shoulders away as you inhale to bring the nose down between the hands. And then exhale, extend, use the belly to push you on up. If you're happy to stay here in your level 1 box for your 10 reps, beautiful. If you want the challenge, walk the hands 1 or 2 paces forwards and realign the chest in between the hands, bringing the head in front of the fingers. Remember, you want to have this nice strong incline, so think about softly drawing the tailbone down towards your heels. Now, for your level 2, you inhale the chest down. Think about the shoulders elongating down your back. Exhale, push off strong. You need to make sure that you're not over compressing the neck. I'm just shifting back because my head's going to hit my heater. You don't want to be rounding your chin into your chest. It's going to be quite hard to breathe. Think about lengthening the head as you bring the chest down towards the mat. Think about trying to keep the spine in that one nice neutral alignment. Level 2 obviously has greater positioning over the wrist. So you might like to try your fist position, or you might even like to try the bear claw where you've curled your fingers off of the mat. That might give you some relief if you've got any arthritis through the finger joints. Once you've done your 10 reps, or if you can only manage 6, 7 or 8, come back to your 4-point kneeling box. And again, you can widen your knees, pull your buttocks back towards your heels, rest your hands onto the mat, soften the weight of the neck by pressing the forehead onto the mat, and have your child's pose rest. Good. I'm just going to go through a little bit of a downward dog stretch. It may not be for you, and if you prefer, you can stay here. Just enjoy your child's pose, or you can do a little foot stretch that I've just shown you previously. I'm going to show you downward dog as a little hamstring stretch, but it may not be appropriate for you. So from the 4-point kneeling box, I'm going back into that toe tuck position. Some of you may find you want to stay here for that nice rocking stretch over the soles of the feet. The toe tuck position is pretty important because you're going to lift up onto the ball of the foot. You're going to draw the shoulder blades down on the inward breath to lift the pelvic floor, and then switch on the T-zone on the exhale. Now I'm going to promote my knees to float first. This is quite a strong conditioning exercise in reformer. On the mat it's even harder. So as you push away from your chest like you just did with your press up level 1 and 2, you're going to lift the knees. It might just be a paper's width. It's at this point as you exhale to lift the tummy further away from the mat, you then begin to lift the hips up towards the sky. So lifting the hips high up into a pike position may promote a little bit extra stress on your back, and you might need to bend your knees and come into more of a bent dog. In this bent dog position, same as if I had straight legs, I'm pushing my heels towards the mat, and I'm trying to keep my hips lifted in this A-frame, pushing away from the shoulders, utilizing that nice chest strength that you just learned in your press up level 1 and 2. You can walk through your feet, pedaling your calves, and have a nice stretch through the Achilles. You can just have that nice static downward dog. Now you are breathing throughout the stretch, and please be aware that in this position, if you allow everything to go, your back will start to sway and sag, and that can cause a lot of pressure through your pelvic floor. So when you've had enough of your calf pedaling or your calf stretch in downward dog, you reverse the movement. To do so, draw the shoulder blades down. On the exhale, start to lift the tummy inwards as we begin to roll the weight back towards the wrist. Bring the shoulder in line with the wrist, bending through the knees to bring the knees to the mat. And only when the knees are on the mat, I can release my feet and I can let go of my T-zone and come back to child's pose. Good. Excellent. Now we're going to come into prone to do some back work. We're going to look at our plank series today, and in order to do that we need a nice warm back connection. So come down onto the belly. We're going to start with our stop signs. So hands are face height, elbows are bent, forearms are resting on the mat. You want to keep your neck in this nice neutral alignment. You can pop a pillow under the forehead, or you can rest it onto the mat, or you can float the forehead looking down the tip of the nose with the eyes. Turn the heels out, don't squeeze your buttocks in this exercise. Start to switch on, take your inward breath. Remember, the lift of pelvic floor should not be you shrugging your shoulders up to your earlobes. Think about them softly drawing down. Now on the exhale, lift the abdominals off the surface of your mat. They lift inside the front of your pelvis, and then imagine you're flattening the tummy to draw the hip bones together. From this point, you're switched on, and on your next exhale, we will move. So as you exhale, you're going to glide the shoulder blades down your back. You're drawing them into the waistline, beneath the rib cage, as you draw the elbows down towards the waist. And then inhale, release the hands to face height. The tummy wants to stay lifted, the T-zone engaged. Exhale, draw the shoulder blades down your back, drawing into that waistline beneath the rib cage. Inhale, hands to face height. Remember, check in with the neck. Give it a shake for no and a nod for yes. If you need to, rest it onto the mat. Try not to tense around that very, very special cervical spine. As we exhale, we glide the shoulder blades down the back. We should feel like we're drawing the shoulder blades down and almost lengthening the tailbone down if you need that cue, if you tend to arch your back, thinking about drawing the shoulder blades down. Try not to lift the hips off the mat. Keep that attention to detail of your pelvis floating on the surface of your mat. The abdominals lifted with the T-zone engaged. Good, keep it going. Think about drawing the shoulder blades down on the exhale. Keep the neck nice and long and neutral. Inhale, hands to face height. No shrugging shoulders up. Let's do 3. Let's do 2. And on this, our last one, we're going to hold the last stop sign. Stay switched on if possible. Let's do our breaststroke prep, head down. So looking into the mat with eyes and nose, checking the T-zones on, taking a breath in and possibly floating one arm or 2 arms, paper's width from the mat. Don't struggle, keep one arm on the mat if you need. Now we're going to draw our circles. On your next inward breath, start to lift your fingers and trace around the top arc of the circle. The shoulders want to stay away from the ears. Exhale, pull the shoulder blade down your back. It's in that deep midsection, and that will naturally draw your palm down to trace the bottom half of the circle. Inhale, top half of the circle. Exhale, draw the shoulder blades down. Now it's really important that you feel the shoulder blade moving at the back of the body in this exercise. It's echoing what the palm is tracing. And the shoulders do not lift into the earlobe. The head could stay down. It could be resting fully on the mat. If you feel like you over tense the neck, by all means keep it down. I tend to float the head because that's my natural alignment and I like it. But if I do over tense, I need to come back to the mat, switch off, maybe rest the hands down and take a rest, and then come back up, being really, really mindful of not over tensing the neck. You may also benefit from a light tuck of chin to chest, but don't overly drop your chin in and don't sacrifice that breathing. Good. The larger your circle, the more you'll find the draw down of the shoulder might promote the head to lift. A little bit, maybe a millimeter or 2. Let's make this our final 2 circles. Keep looking down with eyes and nose or resting the head down. Our final circle, come back to the mat with both hands, rest the arms down, and rest the weight of the head completely onto the mat, followed by the abdominals and the pelvic floor, and have your rest. Good. So head down breaststroke prep is a good modification if you are an over tensor of your neck, you have very, very strong or overactive traps. That is a good exercise to come back to, even if it's just the one arm modification, okay? We're going to move into swan prep for some upper back extension. Keep the arms wide, or maybe widen them at a centimeter or 2 from the chest. You can look into that with eyes and nose or rest the forehead down. Keep the heels turned out and start to switch back on. Inhale, pelvic floor. Shoulders release from the ears, don't shrug upwards. Exhale, lift the tummy from the mat. Think about that flattening, drawing the 2 hip bones close together. Wonderful. From here, on your inward breath, start to roll your tip of your nose towards the edge of the mat line. Now keep looking down the tip of the nose with the eye line. Don't lift your chin. Just think about that gentle float of the forehead from the mat, and then allow the exhale to glide the shoulder blades down your back to peel the chest off. Now the tummy wants to stay engaged through the T-zone, the pelvic floor lifted. It's a small, gentle lift, and it might just be your collarbone from the mat. Inhale, keep the tummy engaged through the T-zone as you bring The chest back to the mat, followed with the chin, the nose, the eye line. Then on the exhale, we're going to roll the nose underneath the chin, round over your cervical spine, like you do in your rolling, and have a nice neck stretch. Then start again, if you choose, on your inward breath, rolling your nose towards the edge of the mat line. Now I'm really cautious that I don't try and lift my chin up towards the ceiling. I want to keep the neck within that neutral posture, and I want to make sure the back has to work to draw the shoulder blades down, and I'm feeling that really strong middle back connection with the T-zone lifted. Inhale, the chest comes back down, follow it with the chin and the nose, look into the mat once more, and then exhale, roll it underneath your chin. You can have a short rest in between swan preps, you don't have to continue through each breath cycle, but I do want you to make sure that this neck is not trying to lift on up. It's very different from a cobra, and it's very different from a sphinx position. So these two are very popular in yoga, and they tend to include a chin lift, which is a closing angle of the cervical spine. And I want you to prevent that here. There are a lot of very sensitive nerves and discs within the back of the neck that you don't want to overcompress. And this is not one of those times where we want to lift the chin and try and tilt the head back, okay? Keep looking down the tip of your nose throughout. Let's make this our final swan prep. Really focusing on just allowing the nose to roll towards the edge of the mat line. Your chin is not lifting up, we're looking down the tip of the nose. Keep looking down the tip of the nose as we draw the shoulder blades down the back. We're coming into that lovely upper back extension, and you'll feel the mid-center back connection switch on here. Then slowly inhale, bring the chest back down, keep the T-zone working. Follow it with the chin and the nose, rest it on the mat if you need. And then exhale, roll the nose under the chin. Really think about rounding over the cervical spine here and have a lovely neck stretch. And then inhale, relax everything to the mat. Now I'm going to go through my breaststroke exercise next. For those of you that are not comfortable being up in that upper back extension for a period of time, you feel like you struggle to keep the load from going down into the lumbar spine, come back down to the head down breaststroke prep exercise. You can even have the forehead onto the mat. You could have the one arm variation to draw a few circles and then alternate a few circles on the other arm. For your breaststroke exercise, start with a small circle and really think about a strong foundation of your swan prep. So come back to the mat, looking down with eyes and nose, and switch back onto T-zone. You may need a little bit more support from that transverse belt as you're coming up into extension and holding. I'm going to come on up on my next inward breath cycle, rolling my nose towards the edge of the mat line, peeling the forehead off. Looking down the tip of the nose, I'm going to exhale, glide the shoulder blades down the back. Now I want the T-zone to support me, and I want to feel the mid-back connection on as I take my breath in and float my hands a paper's width from the mat. It could just be one arm again. Now keep looking down the tip of your nose, don't look up. Start to draw your circles slowly. Inhale, fingertips forwards. And as you exhale, you glide the shoulder blades down, elbows into the waistline. Good, inhale forwards and exhale down. Now we're not letting the shoulder lift towards the earlobe. We are actually trying to preserve that nice lengthening of the neck. Keep looking down the tip of your nose. As you draw a larger circle, you may find that the draw down of your shoulders on that exhale actually promotes you to lift a little bit higher into that lumbar thoracic section of the spine, and you may find that you lift your chest a little bit higher from the mat. Try to prevent seesawing forwards and back. If that small lift occurs on the exhale like it does on me, try to not let your chest drop down and try and use the upper fibers of the trapezius, the middle fiber of the trapezius, and also the lower fiber to keep you up. Now, if you start to strain, please come back down. Please rest down and have time out, switching off pelvic floor and abdominals before you can come back up for another round if you choose. Remember, it could be a small circle. It could be the size of a teacup, and you're really working with a strong mindfulness of the loading of your lumbar spine. We don't want it in the lower back at all. You're also working hard not to overload the neck and stress. Good. A larger circle is more workload. It might be the size of your steering wheel. Let's make this our final 2. Come back to the mat with both arms. Soften the chest towards the mat. As you rest the forehead down, you may go into that lovely neck stretch from swan prep if you choose, or have a complete rest onto the mat. Lovely. From this position, you're going to drag your hands down to chest height. Now we're going to lift the abdominals as we start to push the chest off. I'm rounding my back by drawing my buttocks towards my heels. So a round back position might help you counteract any extra stress or pressure, especially as you've been working and loading that upper back, which might be quite prone to fatiguing if it's not being really used throughout your day. So you can stretch your arms away from your shoulder socket. You can really pull the fingertips into the mat to get a nice armpit stretch, but please let the forehead drop forwards and have a rest onto the mat. Have a good stretch either side by wiggling the armpits towards the mat. And when you're ready, you're going to come into your plank 1 positioning. So plank 1, reading a book on the beach. Nice and simple. Now we're going to go through 1 and 2 and then possibly 2 and 3 separate so that you have a chance to have a rest in between. Plank 1 is the foundation of all of our plank work. So we're reading a book on the beach. We want the shoulder just behind the elbow just behind the shoulder joint, so that we're not overloading the chest and sinking, hinging forwards through that fascia lumbar back, which is where the lower back and the mid back meet. So push off the forearms. Again, think about loosening through the neck. Have a shake for no and yes. And then think about your soft breath inwards to lift your pelvic floor, which promotes a soft draw down of your shoulders. Now on your exhale, as you switch on the belly, lifting it off the mat, we want to think about the 2 pockets of air appearing beneath the hip bones in the mat. You're not actively lifting the belly off the mat here, but we are utilizing the flattening of the abdominals to feel that we've tightened the belt. Good. From this position, check you haven't lifted your shoulders up. You might need a stop sign engagement cue to draw the shoulder blades down your back and push off the forearms. And you might stay here for your 10 breath hold. To go up into level 2, you need a strong foundation with 1 first. Once 1 is strong, take a deep breath in. On the exhale, keeping the shoulder blades down, we're going to lift the abdominals a little bit deeper, as if we're coming into the 2nd notch on the belt. This promotes you to push off the forearms, lifting the buttocks or the pelvis roughly in line with the shoulder blades. You need to check, are my shoulders still roughly in line with my elbow? Yes. Have I drawn the shoulder blades down? Yes. Am I able to breathe without struggling? If you feel like your hips are too high or you're arching your back, such as this, your shoulder will definitely be behind your elbow. So bring the shoulder back in line with that elbow joint, and then think about the exhale and lift the tummy off the mat. Good. Keep breathing in and out. Focus on inhale, shoulders draw down. Exhale, lifting the belly. Keep breathing for your 10 breaths here. You may need to come back to your level 1 if you're struggling. Good. From this position, keep breathing. You could tuck your toes under. You could come into pressing down into the ball of the foot, and that would be your 8 plank hold. Keep breathing here, keep breathing. Focus on what you're switching on and what you're utilizing. The shoulder and the chest, the abdominals and the pelvis. Good. Now when you've got to your 10 breaths, keeping the abdominals connected, we're going to gently bring the pelvis back down, drawing the shoulder blades down and pushing off the forearms, untucking the toes to come back to plank 1 first. And then soften the chest down, releasing it onto mat to have a break. Good. Lovely. From this point, you can have a break, or you can follow me for a little hamstring stretch. We're going to bring the hands back down to chest height, push the chest off the mat, rounding the back. You can come back to child's pose if you choose. I'm going to come back to 4-point kneeling box, and I'm going to bring 1 foot in between my hands. Now, in order to do this, I want the T-zone on and I want the shoulders down. Don't round the back for me. Think about drawing the shoulder blades down. When you bring 1 foot between the hands, it doesn't have to be elegant, it never is. You're going to walk your toes a little bit forwards of your fingertips So you see you've got an incline, it's not quite 90 degrees from knee over ankle. Now this stretch may not be a possibility for you if you find that you're not very mobile through your hips. Have a little go, have a little test. You may also benefit from some yoga blocks by each hand. Now I'm gently going to pull the buttocks back and start to lengthen out the knee. As I lengthen the knee out, I can walk my hands back towards my hip bones and start to straighten out the front of the foot, pointing out through the second toe. Now you want to check that you're not too angled back and down, which might strain your back. Can you see how rounded I am? If this is the case, come back to 4-point kneeling, wiggle this back knee a little bit further back, and as you start to pull the buttocks back and straighten out the front knee, you should more or less have a 90-degree angle in that back leg from hip to knee. Try to think about lengthening your spine from your pelvis, and if you need, have a little gaze ahead of your foot. Now you should feel this hamstring stretch more towards the lower portion and over the knee joint. If it's too much, you can have a soft bend in the knee, and if you want to, you can walk your hands further back towards your hips, and that will give you less stretch. The further forward your hands are towards your foot, the more the stretch is increased. Remember, try to lengthen the spine to get the most out of it. Keep breathing in and out. Once you've held your stretch for roughly 10 breaths, and we have, we're going to softly bend the knee back over the ankle joint, bring the hands back either side of the foot, and bring the foot back to the box. Good, let's try the other side. From your box position, remember one foot comes between the hands, and you start to walk your toes forwards of your fingers. Now, it's at this point, if you need, you could bail out of this stretch and come back to child's pose. But I'm going to go straight into it by gently drawing my hips back. Again, walking your hands back towards your hip bones if you need. Lengthening across the knee joint and pointing out through the second toe into hamstring C. Again, more or less 90 degrees you want in that back knee. So try not to be over angled here, which will strain this knee joint and also strain through your lower back. The further you walk your fingers back towards your hips, you can flatten out your back and have a nice hamstring stretch, which will be that medial fiber and down over the knee joint. The further forwards might give you a different sensation, but you will also need to think about flattening out your back. Keep breathing in and out, pointing the toe forwards, and have a nice stretch through the hamstring. Once we've had our 10 breaths, and I've held you here long enough, we're going to bend the front knee back over the ankle joint, bringing the hands back either side. We can undo, bringing ourselves back to the box, and you can rest back to child's pose and have your breath. Good. Hamstring C is a great hamstring stretch, particularly if you're already down in that 4-point kneeling box. Good. From that position, we're going to go back to plank 2 and possibly 3. You could repeat your plank 1 if you need. Coming back onto reading a book on the beach. Lovely. Remember, shoulder blades are drawing down. You want to make sure you're pushing off to utilize your chest and switching on the stop sign. Equally, find your connection to your pelvic floor and your T-zone. Those 2 little pockets are there underneath your hips. Now, plank 1, stay here if you choose. For plank 2, inhale, remember, shoulders stay down, don't shrug upwards. Exhale, think about lifting the belly, doing an extra notch on the belt, starting to push the hips on up, off the mat. Now the hips need to be roughly in line with the shoulders. Check the positioning of shoulder over elbow. You can tuck your toes under if you choose. From this point, you can stick with your plank 2 and breathe. I'm going to come up into plank 3. Some of this may be too far for you. Please come back down if you need. I'm going to push my right ball of my foot into the mat. And on the exhale, keeping my pelvis level, my shoulders down, I'm going to extend my right knee from the mat. Beautiful. Keeping the pelvis at the same level, don't shift. Push your left foot into the mat, and on the exhale, lift the left knee. You could be here in your 3 plank. You could stay here and breathe, or you could come back down 1 knee at a time with each exhale, coming back to plank 2, watching for that shifting pelvis. And then again, holding for a breath in, and then exhaling, lifting 1 knee at a time. Coming back up to plank 3, holding for a breath in, and then down 1 knee at a time on the exhales. That could be where you also condition that positioning of you finding the pelvis placement without shifting up and down. This is not a pike position, so try not to lift the hips if you're transferring up into plank 3, 1 leg at a time, or down. You can hold your 10 breaths in plank 3, or you could work through this leg pull prone variation. We're going to hold for maybe 2 more breaths before coming back to plank 2. Taking a nice deep breath in. Remember that the exhale, we untuck the toes, we can come back down to plank 1. We want to stay connected and switched on. Shoulder blades draw down your back. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, soften the chest into the mat and have a break. Well done. Round your back if you choose, pushing off your chest and coming back to child's pose for your break. Good. Have a little rest, a longer one if you need it. That's quite a strong exercise over the chest, and you've done a lot of back work here already. Good. We're going to lay on our side, do a little bit of glutes before we come onto the back. So, for our side lying glute work, we're going to keep it nice and simple. We're going to start with our legs in 45 degrees. Hand on top hip bone, roll it forwards. And remember, finding the bottom waist on the exhale, pushing the top hip bone down, lengthening the top waistline, lifting the bottom. Now we're going to go through our straight leg raise first. So the bottom leg stays bent and the top leg is going to elongate. Try and lengthen the top waistline as you lengthen the leg from the mat. Now it's going to float at hip height, and I want you to make sure you're actively engaging across your transverse band, flattening that tummy. Keeping the leg in line with your hip bone is level 1. Halfway between your buttocks and your bottom knee is level 2. And in line with your bottom knee is level 3 and the harness. Whichever placing you choose, you want to rotate the leg down from the hip joint, and you want to then start to exhale, push the heel on up. Keeping the hip bone facing forwards and pressing down. Inhale, toes can touch down towards the mat. Exhale, push the heel up, and inhale to lower. Good, so the further forwards the leg, the more you'll need to use that top waistline, lengthening, pushing the hip down and away to lift the bottom waist and keep the obliques engaged, as well as the base of your core, the pelvic floor. You should start to feel the side of your thigh muscles as well as your glutes start to switch on. Now we're using glute medius and minimus. We want to keep this internal rotation. Exhale, push the heel up, and inhale to lower. Keeping the spine as still as possible. We have 4 more. Exhale and inhale. Exhale and inhale. Final 2, please. Exhale and inhale. Last one. Good. Bring the leg back to the mat. Come back to 45 degrees to rest. If you choose, have a longer rest. Making sure you found the bottom waist, lengthening the top waistline, keeping the top hip bone rotating forwards. Let's go for clam 1, kick out. We're going to press the heels to switch on the transverse band, and we're going to begin. Exhale, open up the knee. Now we're keeping the top hip bone from rolling back. We're going to extend the top leg at hip height, turning it down from the hip. Good, then we're going to bring the heels back together, come back to clam with this top knee high, press and squeeze, and close. Squeeze, exhale, open, keep the top hip bone here. Lengthening the top leg, inhale, turn the leg from the hip joint down. Exhale, heels together, knee high, inhale, close. Good, squeeze, exhale, open, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, soles together, knee high, inhale, close. Good, you've done 4 of 10. Squeeze, exhale, open, and extend. Good. Heels together, press them and close. Excellent, squeeze, lengthen. Heels and close. Exhale, inhale, exhale, and inhale. Well done, 3 left. Squeeze and lengthen. Turning it down from the hip. Exhale, soles together, knee high, and close. Good, squeeze, exhale, lengthen, inhale. Exhale, heels come back together, squeeze. Inhale, close. Final 1, squeeze and lengthen. Good, exhale, heels together, knee high. Inhale, close, have a rest. Beautiful. Rub your glute. Good, let's do our side kick exercise next. So side kick is a great exercise. Again, we're keeping the bottom leg bent at 45 degrees. We want to lengthen the top leg. Now, if you choose, you may change the positioning of this bottom leg but I want you to start with the leg at 45 degrees. When you lengthen the top leg, use that waistline to lengthen and lift the bottom waist a little bit higher. You want to keep this top hip bone facing forwards, so try not to move backwards through the spine or the pelvis. Now we're going to have a little rotation of the leg down from the hip joint. You want to make sure that you're keeping the leg at hip height. We're going to sweep the leg forwards, inhale, and we're going to exhale, tap, tap the toe down. Then we're going to squeeze the glute, exhale as we push the heel back behind us, keeping the hip forwards, and exhale, tap, tap the toes. Good, inhale, sweep forwards. Exhale, tap, tap, and then sweep it back. Squeezing your glute, making your top hip bone stay forwards, tap, tap. Inhale, sweep forwards. Good, exhale, tap, tap. Inhale, sweep back. Exhale, tap, tap. Inhale, sweep forwards. Tap, tap. Exhale, sweep it back, squeezing your glute max. Tap, tap. Good. Sweeping forwards. You can straighten out the bottom leg. It could be more or less now at that 70-degree angle through the knee joint. Or you could straighten out the leg fully and have it more or less parallel with the leg as it sweeps in front. Now this makes this exercise harder to stay upright, to stay lifted through the bottom waist. So you want to make sure you're working adequately. Remember, if the bottom waist rests on the mat, the hips are unlevel and the pelvis will switch off the pelvic floor. Good, let's make this our last one. Inhale, sweep forwards, tap, tap. And exhale, squeezing the buttocks, push the heel behind you, keep the hip bone forwards, tap, tap. Good, let's bend both legs back to 45, let's have a rest. Good, so side kick is a great exercise. The bottom leg lengthening out can make it harder, but I don't want you to struggle through the exercise. So don't just lengthen the leg on out, you can gradually lengthen the leg on out. It could be 45 and then 60, and then maybe towards the straight line angle. But I want you to gradually open up the knee, lengthening the leg, only if you can lift the bottom waist. If you drop it, and you find that the pelvis is rocking and rolling around, come back to more of a bent knee angle through the bottom leg. Good, let's do some thoracic rotation. So we're going to take that bottom arm that you're resting your ear on, and we're going to reach it on out. If you choose, grab a pillow, handy if you're next to the couch, and pop it underneath the ear to realign the neck. Remember, the neck does not need extra pressure through this exercise. Top palm on top, top hip bone forwards. We're going to begin switching on the transverse band and the pelvic floor and lengthening the top waistline to lift the bottom. Start reaching the top palm forwards. Keeping the top hip bone here, we're going to reach the hand towards the ceiling, eye on the thumb. Exhale, push the palm behind you. Now you want to keep your top hip bone forwards to get the stretch across the chest and the upper back. Good, and then inhale, hand towards the ceiling, and then close palm to palm. Good, let's do 3 more. Inhale forwards. Keep the top hip bone here. Exhale, palm moves towards the ceiling, eye on the thumb. Exhale, push the palm behind you. Open up slowly through that chest. And then inhale, hands to the ceiling. Exhale, close palm to palm. Good, 2 more. I want you to think about letting the neckline travel as far as it wishes to. Don't strain the neck. Make this about the chest and the back. Keep that bottom waistline up, the top hip bone forwards. Lovely, 1 more. Reach. Exhale, fingertip to the ceiling. Push the palm behind you. Hand to the ceiling. And close and have a rest. Beautiful, well done. Good. We're going to change sides, so push yourself on up, alternating your side. Have your pillow close at hand if you'd like to use it for that rotation. We're starting with the legs in 45. We're starting with straight leg raise, but I want you to switch on here, pushing the top waistline, lengthening down to lift the bottom waist. From this position, the top hip bone wants to stay gently rolled forwards, and we're going to start to lengthen out. You need to move. We're going to start to lengthen out the top leg. Now from this position, use the top waistline, lengthen the leg further away to lift the bottom waist. Good. Remember, first position is in line with your hip, second is halfway between your buttocks and your bottom knee, and the third is roughly the thighs in alignment. Choose your positioning, rotate the leg down from the hip joint. We're going to exhale, push the heel up, keeping the bottom waist up, and inhale to lower. You know if you go too far, if you're trying too hard, if you drop the bottom waistline into the mat. So keep the top waistline lengthened. If the leg is parallel to the bottom thigh in the third position, you're going to work extra hard here to keep the bottom waist up. Try to lengthen the leg away from you. And only push the heel as high as you can keep the bottom waist engaged and lifted. We're feeling the side of the thigh, the glute medius and minimus. And of course, we're utilizing pelvic floor, flattening abdominals across the transverse band, and these side lying obliques. Good, we're working for our 12. So we've got 4, 3, exhale 2, inhale down, and 1. Wonderful. Bring the legs back to 45 degrees to have your rest. Clam kick out or clam 1 is next. So keeping the top hip bone lengthening down, lifting the waist up, but top hip bone gently forwards. Pressing the heels, flattening the transverse band. We're going to exhale, open up clam 1. Try not to shift that top hip back. You're going to lengthen the leg out at hip joint and turn the leg down from the hip itself. Exhale, bring the heels back together, squeeze them to engage and close. Exhale, open, squeezing heels. Inhale, lengthen, turning down from the hip joint. Exhale, soles come back together, squeeze, knee high. Inhale, close. Exhale, inhale. Good, exhale, heels together, press. And inhale, close. Squeeze, exhale, open. Extend, inhale. Exhale, heels together, squeeze. Inhale, close, squeeze. Lengthen, you're doing really well, keep it going. Top hip bone, press down and forwards. Try not to lose that bottom waist. We're really conditioning through the obliques here. Good, 3 left. Working to our 10 in this exercise. Final 2. And 1. Really lengthen the leg, lifting the bottom waist, don't let it drop. Heels together, squeeze, and inhale, close. Have a small rest. So we're going through our hot potato side kick variation next. Keeping the bottom leg bent at 45 to begin with. You might lengthen it out as the exercise goes on. We're going to push the top hip bone down, turn on the transverse band to lengthen the top leg at hip height. Now remember, try and keep the bottom waistline up at all times. Rotating the leg down from the hip joint, we're going to sweep the leg forwards, inhale. Tap the toes down towards the mat twice, and then exhale, push the heel behind us, squeezing the glute max. Try to keep the top hip bone forwards, tap, tap. Good, inhale forwards, tap, tap. Good, exhale, push the heel back, squeezing glute max. Tap, tap. Keep that internal rotation from the hip joint, the whole leg. Inhale forwards and tap, tap. Exhale back, squeezing glute max and tap, tap. Good. If you want, you can lengthen out the bottom leg just a little bit. It requires more balance, and you need to lift that bottom waist by lengthening the top leg away from you. Quite challenging. The longer the leg, the harder this exercise will be, and you need to make sure you are lifting your bottom waist. Don't just wave the leg around. As you exhale to push the heel back, squeeze your glute max, keep your top hip forwards, lift the bottom waist, tap, tap. Inhale, sweep forwards, tap, tap. Exhale, sweep back, squeeze your glute max and tap, tap. Good, 2 more. Inhale forwards and tap, tap. Exhale back and tap, tap. Your final 1. Good, keep it going. Bottom waist up, don't lose it yet. Last 1, exhale, squeeze, tap, tap, and then come back to 45 to rest. Good. Let's have our pillow underneath our ear if you need. Pop something underneath it, realign the neck, take pressure off. Place that bottom palm now out in front and rest the top palm on top. Lift the bottom waist by pushing the top hip bone down, engaging pelvic floor, and press the heels lightly to switch on the transverse band. Reach the top arm forwards, inhale. As we exhale, we're going to follow the eye line with the thumb. Exhale, push the palm behind you. Really think about just letting the chest stretch, keeping the top hip bone from rotating back. Inhale, hand to the ceiling and close. 3 more. Really think about just allowing the upper back to rotate through the rib cage. Keep the top hip bone, the pelvis facing forwards. 2 more. Really nice opening of the chest. Really nice after all that upper back work. It's one of my favorite stretches to do. You really want to keep the upper back from the lumbar spine from stealing this rotation. So as the hand comes to the ceiling, the top hip bone stays forwards, the bottom waistline lifted. Exhale, push the palm behind you. Inhale, hand to the ceiling and close, have your rest. Good. Now you can keep the pillow where it is. You can squeeze your top knee into your chest and gently roll onto your back. If you like to have this underneath your neck, you can have it here. I'm going to get rid of it. We're going to do a little bit of work on some ab work with a little bit of hip flexor work, which is moving towards our straight leg stretch. So we're going to do a very simple set of exercises. We're going to start with our lift foot. So we want to make sure shoulders draw down, a light tuck of chin to chest, lengthening the back of the neck. There should be no pressure in the cervical spine. In fact, you want to think about keeping that nice neutral posture. Hands by your sides, neutral spine, let's switch on the T-zone. Lift foot, so we're working with the T-zone flattening. Exhale to float the foot off the mat, knee above the hip bone. Inhale, the foot comes back down. Alternating, exhale, flattening abdominals, not the back into the mat, please. We lift the foot from the mat and inhale down. Hands could be in your transverse band, switch to check that you're switching on and that you're flattening and engaging to lift the foot from the mat. Now, for those of you that are working in single leg tabletop, this is fine. As we move through this series of exercises, you'll choose the single leg variations. And if you want to work to the full exercises, you can too. But please limit. Remember that we're looking for discomfort and pain, and we don't work through any of those. Shoulders drawing down. Try to think about a light tuck of chin to chest, lengthening that back of the neck, and thinking about a nice strong engagement of pelvic floor and T-zone in neutral spine. Good, let's make this our last one. Come back to the mat. Stay switched on if possible. Reach your hands by your sides. We're going for hundreds prep. Now you can keep your head on the mat if you choose. I'm going to exhale, start to sweep the ribs towards the hips as I scoop out the belly and reach the hands past the hip bones, crawling and reaching down the mat. From this position, I should be able to look at my flat tummy. And then I'm going to inhale, release, head back down to the mat. Again, keeping the hands on the mat for the first few. We're going to exhale, curl the ribs towards the hips, scoop the abdominals as we start to peel the upper body, reaching the hands down the mat. Good, inhale to release. You could just reach your arms down, drawing ribs to hips if you want to keep the upper body down. Exhale, ribs towards hips to scoop, belly, reach the hands past the hip bones, curling, head, neck, tips of shoulders off the mat. And then inhale down. For those of you that want to work through the full range, hands could float over the chest. As you exhale to curl, you're going to reach the hands past the hip bones, scooping the abdominals, really reaching from armpit to fingertip. Inhale to lower. Equally, if neck pressure is an issue for you here, one hand behind the head. As we curl, we're lightly lifting the skull from the base of the neck itself, reaching one hand past the hip bones. We can alternate and work equally through both sides. Exhaling to curl and inhaling. Those of you that want more can add single leg tabletop. Exhaling to curl and inhaling to lower. You could go for 4 on each tabletop leg and then come back to the mat for a rest. For those of you that are working in double leg tabletop, you could be working fully up towards 2 legs off the ground. You might choose to do a few in single leg tabletop first, before working towards your 10 reps in double leg tabletop. Now, once you've done your 10 reps, or you've done your 4 feet down, 4 in single leg, 4 in the opposite tabletop leg, you can come back down to the mat, 1 foot at a time, and switch off and have your rest. I'm going to make this my final 2. My final 1. Coming back to the mat, head and shoulders down, arms down, foot down, and foot down. Good. Have a small break, make sure the T-zone is off. Now the next exercise is going to be looking at our bicycle legs. For those of you that are not working in double leg tabletop, you can add single leg tabletop and still work through the static ab curl hold. For those of you that are not curling the upper body from the mat, lift and extend is going to be your alternate here. I'm going to prepare myself. I'm going to be choosing the double leg tabletop version. You could do a 5 reps on one single leg tabletop and 5 on the other, if not. Hands are floating over the chest, shoulders down, chin lightly tucked to chest. Now I'm going to come into ab curl and hold. So exhale to curl, scooping out the belly, reaching the hands past the hip bone, shoulders drawing down. I've got my knees aligned over tabletop, and I want to begin to tap one toe towards the mat. I want to keep ribs to hips, chin tucked to chest. Inhale, foot comes back on up, and I can alternate. Now the further I tap from the buttocks, and this is fine for single leg too, the harder this exercise will be, but I want to make sure there's no pressure through the neck. I can utilize one hand to lift the weight of the skull from the neck if I need to eliminate the pressure here. I also want to keep a soft bend in the knee, even if that means I cannot reach as far as I really want to. Try not to extend the leg just yet. Good. Now, like I said, 5 in single leg tabletop. You're holding your static ab curl. You could utilize one hand behind the head if you need. Or you're alternating for 10 in double leg tabletop. Last 2. And 1. Come back, upper body to the mat. Bring the knees towards the chest. Have a little release of the lower back. Or feet down one at a time and have a rest. Beautiful. So I'm going to look at single leg stretch and look at a straight leg stretch variation for those of you that want to move in that too. I'm going to start by stretching my hamstrings because most of you will have tight hammies too, just like me. So we're going to do this without the band today, just to show you that you can do it without the band. If you prefer, grab your band. I'm going to come into it from single leg tabletop. Now from single leg tabletop, I've got my T-zone on, and I'm going to bring my hand either above or below the knee joint, not on the knee itself. You'll see my knee is just higher than my belt line here, and this is my hamstring strained leg. So I can predict that this leg will be a little bit resistant to being in a tabletop position. This is a little bit easier for me with the strain. You want to make sure you're keeping a nice neutral back position. So try not to reach up if it's going to strain your lower back into the mat, or you can't keep the head onto the mat. I want you to keep the upper body quite fixed here. Now we're going to slowly lengthen the leg towards 90. Again, you want to make sure that you're not straining your back. So if the leg only extends to the soft bend position, beautiful, that's fine. From here, we're going to take a nice soft breath in. And on the exhale, we're gently going to pull the front of the thigh towards the chest. You'll notice I've still got a nice soft bend in my knee. The leg is not perfectly straight. I want to feel the hamstring engaging for this stretch. So the stretch should be felt at the back of the pelvis, down towards the knee joint. The straighter your leg is, fine if you can straighten out the leg. But for me, I prefer, without the use of the band, to keep a soft bend. And that won't aggravate any sciatic nerve issues if you do have them. If you don't have sciatic nerve issues, then it's fine to straighten out the leg. Now we're breathing in and out nice and deeply. For those of you that want an extra element to this exercise, PNF, if you can think about drawing the thigh down into your hands as you pull your thigh towards you with the hands. So you've got an active element of push and pull. Pushing the leg into the hands, pulling the leg into the chest for 5 deep breaths. So here we have our hamstring stretch that we're holding quite easily. We still have the muscle lengthening in the stretch, but to make it harder, we can push and pull for 5 deep, long breaths using 50% of our max strength in the leg and the arms. And you may feel that this level of engagement will give you a little bit more of a release. So we're holding this element of push and pull for 5 breaths. We're not holding the breath. Once we've done our 5 breaths of push and pull, we're going to gently release and then gently lengthen the leg back towards the chest. And that might give you a few extra millimeters of stretch. And it might give you a further intensity to your hamstring stretch here. Take a deep breath in and out. Beautiful. We're going to softly bend the knee back to tabletop. We're going to release our hands from our thigh, place the foot down and change sides. Again, tabletop with T-zone on. Hands can come above or below the knee joint depending on your reach. Now I'm gently going to start to extend the leg from the knee. You'll notice that this leg is straighter and it's able to manage the straightness. Don't over straighten the leg if it's pulling on your back, if it's pulling on the side of your hip joint or your sciatic nerve. Now you're going to gently pull the thigh towards the chest. Try and resist the urge to really dump the weight into your lower back by compressing that lumbar spine. Try to keep within neutral and the T-zone engaged and breathe in and out deeply for your hamstring stretch. Good. You're stretching for 10 breaths. The breath needs to be long and very, very deep because you want your central nervous system to relax, to allow the stretch to occur at the back of your pelvis and your knee. Breathe in and out nice and deeply. Now for those of you that want that added PNF element, it's 50% of your max strength, push and pull. So on your next 5 breaths, push your leg into your arms and pull your arms leg towards your chest. Breathe in and out for 5 long deep breaths. Keep that active push and pull, 50% of max strength going in each arm and leg. And once you've counted your 5 breaths, you can release the push and pull and then gently lengthen the leg towards your chest. And you might find that you get that extra few millimeters and you also get a nice deep engagement of your hamstring once it's started to lengthen. Good, let's hold for a deep breath in and out. Then begin to soften the knee back to tabletop and rest the feet down. Good. So I'm going to look at single leg stretch and straight leg stretch variation for those of you that want it. If you're in single leg tabletop, you can do this in a single leg variation too. So for single leg stretch, we lift the chest from the mat in a static ab-curl hold, and then we work through the legs. So it may find that you can only do a few reps. Now for single leg variation, you can practice ab-curl 1 and a lengthening of the opposite leg into leg slide. You slide the leg back in and place the foot down, and you can also bring the head down if you choose. So single leg stretch in single leg tabletop, we switch on with a light tuck of chin to chest, lengthening the weight of the skull from the neck. We come up into tabletop and we're going to exhale to curl, ribs towards the hips to scoop the belly, lifting the head from the mat. Then we're going to lengthen the opposite leg out into a leg slide. We can stay connected to the mat. Inhale, slide the leg back on in, place the head down, and you can repeat this 4 reps on each side. That could be the beginning of your single leg stretch work. Now for those of you that are working in double leg tabletop, I'm going to show you single leg stretch where I take the hands away from the head. For those of you that are not comfortable with this, you might choose a variation where you keep your hands behind your head to keep that nice strong connection in neutral spine throughout the neck. So I'm in tabletop, I'm going to exhale to curl. I'm lifting head and shoulders, ribs to hips, scooping out the belly. Now I'm going to release my hands. I'm going to place my right hand on my left shin and my left hand on my left thigh. Good. From this position, shoulders drawing down, I'm going to exhale, pull my left knee towards me. The knee is just over my belt line as I lengthen and extend the opposite leg into 45-degree angle. I'm keeping the belly nice and flat. Then as I inhale to bring the knees back to tabletop, I alternate. Exhale and inhale. Exhale and inhale. Now for those of you that want to, you could keep your hands behind your head and just work through an extension, very small range of one leg. before coming back to tabletop. Exhale, extension, and inhale to tabletop. The knees could also be quite close together, or they could be hip width to make it a bit more challenging. So have a go. You could have single leg stretch variation, double leg tabletop. You could have hands behind head variation in double leg tabletop. Or you could be working into your single leg stretch, single leg tabletop variation, which is an ab curl one and a leg slide. Now I want you to try for 4 reps in single leg tabletop on each side, or try for your 10 reps of your single leg stretch, double leg tabletop, hands behind the head, or utilizing the hands pulling the knee towards the chest slightly. You can add tempo, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. If you're in tabletop and you're comfortable utilizing that breath pattern, we're going to go for our final 2. Our final one. Before coming back, head back to the mat first, and then feet down one at a time where you can rest and switch off. So the final exercise I'm building up to is straight leg stretch. If you don't want to go here, come back to repeat this version of your exercise, whether it's the single leg tabletop, the double leg tabletop, utilizing the hands behind the head, or coming back to single leg stretch with the hands on the thigh, or if you don't want any of those, pelvic curl. Come back to pelvic curl for 4 or 5 reps and just de-stress the spine. Now, straight leg stretch, you need to have a really good double leg tabletop position, and you need to be working in that position in single leg stretch. If you're not, please come back to the other variations or come back to pelvic curl. So I'm going to come up into double leg tabletop with a nice strong connection to T-zone. From this position, I'm going to curl my upper body from the mat. So I'm going to utilize hands behind the head, chin lightly tucked to chest, exhale to curl. Upper body, ribs drawing to hips, scooping the belly, peeling the head from the mat. Now, straight leg stretch does have a hamstring component to it. So I'm going to bring both hands onto one leg. Now I'm going to run my hands up my shin, and as I lengthen one leg up, I'm going to extend the opposite leg and gently lower to 45 degrees. Then I'm going to inhale, bring both straight legs to this tabletop position, alternating hands onto the shin, exhaling to pull the shin towards me as I lengthen and lower the opposite leg to 45. Inhale and exhale. I'm keeping ribs drawn towards hips, curled from the mat, and scooping out the belly. So it's an exhale, pull the shin towards you to lengthen the opposite leg away. And then inhale to tabletop. The knees do not have to be perfectly straight, particularly if you have a little bit of sciatica. You'll find that bent knees or soft micro bends will be a little bit more forgiving on the side of the thigh and the hip joint. The other element of straight leg stretch is the half. So as you exhale to pull the thigh towards your chest, you keep that bottom leg extended, pushed away from you. But the leg that's in your hand pulses towards you for 2. And then you inhale to tabletop. Exhale and inhale. Just like your PNF, the added element in the hamstring stretch, you want to actively pull that thigh towards you. Use your arms to get that little added hamstring engagement. 2 more. Now, if your head and your neck is completely fatigued and over-tensed, come back to the mat and have a rest. We've got 1 more on the opposite side. Last one. Come back to tabletop, bend the knees. Bring the upper body down, rest it on the mat, bring the knees to chest. You can roll and create circles. You can shuffle side to side and release the back any way you choose. Those of you that are finishing off your final reps in single leg stretch, single leg tabletop variation, or pelvic curl, let's make this your last one. Let's bring feet back to the mat one at a time. Let's squeeze the inner thighs and roll onto your side, push yourself up to finish. We're going to do a nice seated stretch to finish the class today. It's going to be your seated supine twist for the side of the hip joint and the side of the lower back. We're going to take a bent knee position. If you choose, you can straighten out one leg and flex the foot like I do, or you can keep a little micro bend in it here. With bent knees, I want you to lift your chest upright of your hips, shoulders away from the earlobes, release the pressure off the neck. Again, I'm going to lengthen the leg on out, but it could be bent, it could be slightly raised from the mat here. Keeping the T-zone, switching on, I'm going to bring the opposite leg over my knee joint. I'm going to use the opposite arm to the knee in front to pull the knee towards me, and I want to lift my waistline, my ribs from my hips. Now you can already see I'm already starting to turn away to get this side of the thigh stretch that I need and want. If you'd like, this could be where you stay. Try and lift your sternum, keeping a defined waist, pulling the knee in towards your chest, using 50% of your strength. If you'd like, stay and breathe. Otherwise, opposite hand comes to the mat. We're going to walk the hand around to the back of the hip joint, turn the eye line to look over the shoulder, drop the chin to the chest and look at the fingertips on the mat. Breathe in and out nice and deeply and notice the added element to this side of the thigh stretch. Breathe in and out deeply. Try to keep the neck from tensing. Just gaze down to the fingers on the mat. Let's do our final 3 breaths here. Good. 2. And last one. We're going to walk the hand back in front of the hip bone. We're going to stop pulling the knee in, and we're going to change sides. So uncross the leg, you can slide it out on the mat, slide the other leg in. Keep this knee soft and slightly bent if you choose, or you can flex the foot to get a bigger stretch. We're going to cross this leg over the supporting knee joint. Opposite arm is going to come and pull this in. Lift the sternum to find your waist from your hips. Good. Now notice the angle of my chest has already started that rotation. If you feel comfortable and you want to stay here and breathe, pulling the knee on in, lifting the spine. Otherwise, hand to the mat, walk around the back of the pelvis. Turn to look over the shoulder, drop the chin, look down towards the fingers on the mat and breathe, and notice the added element. Now, if there's pain at any point in the stretch, come out of it slowly. Remember, we do not stretch through pain. A deep breath in and out for 3 counts. And we'll finish our class. Good. Final breath in and out. Slowly bring the eye line back in front, walking the fingers in front of the hip bone. Release the knee from the chest and come back to bent knees. You can cross the legs. Let's do a little neck stretch. So neck pain or neck tension is quite common, and I do have a video about this on Precise Pilates channel. We're going to do a really gentle neck stretch with an added element of external passive force. So we're going to float the chin upright of the sternum and switch on the T-zone. Now I'm going to bring one hand over onto the side of the head, just above the ear itself. I'm going to take a deep breath in, and then on the exhale, I'm gently going to allow the weight of this arm just resting on the head to draw the ear towards the side of the shoulder. Now here, I'm just not pushing the head down, I'm just resting the weight of the arm to allow the stretch to start to occur at the side of the neck. I want to keep the focus of not jamming my head into my shoulder, but just letting it softly release, because the neck is very sensitive. Now this other arm is going to provide a little extra tweak to the stretch. So you're going to start to extend the arm away from you, reaching this long arm down and starting to feel the stretch to be occurring more towards the side of the neck joint. You're going to flex your palm and push down, and notice that you're elongating the neck and you're getting a deeper stretch. You can close your eyes and breathe for the count of 3. Really try not to push that top arm into your head. Allow this external arm to really reach and flex the palm to push down. Good, take a deep breath in and out. Let's let this arm go to spaghetti. We're now going to turn our eye line to look underneath our armpit, dropping the chin further towards the collarbone, bringing the hand now to the back of the head. Take a deep breath in and out. Let's just let the weight of the arm softly draw the chin further down towards the collarbone and start to stretch the back of the neck. This opposite arm again extends away from you to increase the stretch. Flex the palm and push down, and notice, oh, that stretch just got a little bit bigger. Keep breathing. Let's do 3 long deep breaths here. Good. Last one. Let's let this arm go to spaghetti. Rest it by your side. Release that top arm from the head. Now I want you to roll the chin along the collarbone slowly and then float the head upright to change sides. Good. Lift the sternum, sit upright. Bring the hand onto the side of the head just above the earlobe. Take a deep breath in, relax the shoulder for me. Gently begin to let the weight of the arm gently draw the ear towards the side of the shoulder. Take a deep breath in, extending the opposite arm away. Now as you extend the arm away, don't take for granted that you need to add on any more. It could just be the arm extension that works for you. Then if you choose, flex the palm, push down. There you go, that's the added element of the stretch that you need. Don't push this top hand into your head. Just allow the weight of the arm to really keep that stretch going. Breathe in and out nice and deeply. We're going to add that final rotation to get the back of the neck next. So let's let this arm go to spaghetti. Now we're going to turn our eye line to look under our armpit. Hand wanders to the back of the crown. Drop the chin, just allow it to draw towards the collarbone and feel the back of the neck stretch. Adding on if you choose, lengthen the arm away from you. Flex the palm and push down, and feel the back of the neck into the upper fibers of the trap. Start stretching. Good. Breathe in and out deeply. We're nearly finished. Last breath in and out here. We're going to release this arm, let it go to spaghetti. We're going to release the top arm, roll the chin along the collarbone to center, and then slowly lift the head upright to finish. Well done. Good. So I hope you enjoyed this class. We're in week 8 of term 2 online, so we'll start to send out some information about the following term at Precise Pilates very soon. I hope you enjoyed the class. I'll see you for the next workout this week, or possibly next week. Have a good one. Bye.